What's going on, guys? This is Ben with Poor Boys Diesel here. Today we got a 2008 Dodge Ram 2500. It's in for a leaking valve cover gasket. While we're in there, we're going to do a valve adjustment on it. Since this is a somewhat higher mileage truck, it's got about 150,000 on it, so it's about due for a valve adjustment. We're going to replace a valve cover gasket and a rocker box gasket. So we're going to all knock it out in one shot and get it back on the road. So I already had pulled these bolts out previously. So on the trusty old cards. We're also putting in a new crankcase vent filter. Customer provided it, so we're going to throw it in there for him as long as we're there. Went ahead and already disconnected all the electrical connectors except for that one. Move these out of the way. Now I can rip this valve cover off. Now there's two more in the back. Can't get two with the impact, so you got to get a acoustic wrench. It's a little difficult when the bolt's full of oil and dirt. Fingers want to slip on it, but we'll make it happen. There we go. There's that. There you are. Put that back on there so we don't lose it. I want to get careful pulling this thing up because the valve cover gasket likes to stick to the valve cover like that. That's how you know it's been on there for a while. Carefully pull this out, hopefully try not to drop too much dirt in there. And there we have our valve cover gasket / injector harness. Stay. There we have it. Junk. So here we can see our valve train. Got intake and exhaust for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to go ahead and pull this rocker box off and replace the gasket on that as well. Gasket's $20 and it's an extra 30 seconds to replace it, so might as well just do it. Get the back ones first. There's 7 in total. Now, if this thing hasn't been pulled off ever, it could be a pain to get off sometimes. But come on. Hardest part is finding a place to pick up on it here. There we go. There we have it. It's a little dirty. We're going to throw this in the parts washer. Nobody cleans it while we do the valve adjustment. Alright, so welcome back. What you saw me just perform there was called a valve adjustment. On these tappet motor trucks, they have adjustable rockers, and over time, after so many miles, they just plain wear out. So we got to go back in there, readjust them to proper spec on intake and exhaust. Basically, there's a mark on the balancer on the crank, puts you at top dead center. Whether it's top dead center cylinder 1 or 6, whichever one you start on, you do the sequence of intake and exhaust, and then you rotate it 360 degrees, then do the rest of them. Intake adjusted to 8 thousandths, exhaust adjusted to 18 thousandths. A lot of guys adjust them to 10 and 20 thousandths, but I just like them a little bit quieter. It runs them a little bit tighter, and it helps out with the EGTs and whatnot. So it's a little bit of a process to do, but it's super easy once you get to know it. Now that that's done, we can put it back together, and we got our rocker box back out of the parts washer. Parts washer, water is a little dirty, so it didn't come out as clean as I like it. It's all right. Customer's waiting on us, so we're on a little bit of a time crunch. Open up our new fancy dancy gasket. And these could be a little tricky to do. Just got to find out how it's going to lay. And set it on there, and you just got to go around and press it in little by little. All right, gasket's installed. Mating surfaces are clean. Don't drop your torque wrench. Carefully reinstall it, so you don't want to knock these little posts off the injectors, because then you're having a bad day. Let's get the bolts back in it. Short ones go on the end. Long ones in the middle. Try to reach the back. We're just going to use the power tool to run them down snug. So we're not sitting here all day. Torque spec for these guys is 18 foot-pounds. You want to start at the center. You work your way outward. Get our new valve cover gasket / injector harness. New CCV filter gasket. New bolt grommets. Save those for later. It's like Christmas morning, but not. Okay. Same thing. Set it on there. There's little tabs that sit down on top of the rocker box, kind of center it. Let's give her a little motivation to sit on there. And now these, you never ever want to use power tools when you're tightening these, because you will snap the stud off the injector. Okay, last step before we put the valve cover back on, since I failed to do it earlier, is we need to torque these adjuster nuts. Looks like I got them pretty tight already, but just need to double check them. 27 foot-pounds torque spec on these bad boys. And you always want to make sure they're tight, because they will back off, and then you're going to have issues with the drivability of the truck and whatnot. I've seen it happen where the nut backs off and the push rod pops out, and then the truck's misfiring and smoking and is running like garbage. So just want to make sure those are tight and they stay tight. Get rid of that. Make sure mating surface is clean. Parts washer did not do a very good job of cleaning it, but it's better than it was. Make sure to sit down there nice and flat. Since it came with new grommets, we're going to pull the old ones out. Pop these new grommets in. Don't put your light away yet. Snug them for now. Make sure the back ones start. and try to find that wrench you lost. It's usually right where you left it. Same thing as a rocker box. The upper or actual valve cover is going to be 18 foot-pounds. It's pretty important to get these nice and tight, or else you're going to have the valve cover leak again. So run these down a little bit more. It's going to take a little bit to run these bolts down, so you got to squish that rubber grommet in there too. So it might sound like it's tight, but it's not yet. There it is. Okay. Add our new crankcase vent filter gasket. Luckily, this valve cover / injector harness came with a new one, because the filter the customer provided did not come with one. But usually it's alright just to reuse the old one too. But in a perfect world, you always want to replace them. Fresh, clean oil. The O-rings here. Sits in it. Smack her in there. Next, we got the cover. I'm going to pull your oil fill cap back off. Make sure the crankcase vent hose gets reconnected. Give it a little smack. Put the oil fill cap back on so you don't drop anything in there. Typically, the stud bolts always go in the back holes. The harness likes to clip to them, although the harness is now gone. These don't really have a torque spec, so just want to get them tight. Not super, super tight, but you know what I mean. As I was saying, these bolts, not sure what the torque spec is on them, but as long as they're tight, not overly tight, it'll be fine. There's typically no fluid running through this area of the valve cover unless you have a very overfilled or clogged up crankcase vent filter, which in that case you want to replace it anyway. So as long as they're not loose, you're good to go. And make sure you put the clamp back on here. Then you want to make sure you plug in your sensors that you unplugged earlier. In this case, it has an edge probe, EGT probe. Let's see if I can get my hand back here. Probably should have done this earlier, but crankcase pressure sensor plugged in. Make sure it clicks. And that's that. You got your valves adjusted, new valve cover gasket, new rocker box gasket. Now we're going to take it outside, pressure wash it, and let the customer have it back.